First thing I heard about Kalen was that he was trouble. Not normal trouble, not skipping class or sneaking beer into a dorm. Kalen had already been kicked out of 2 dorms before the semester hit its midpoint. Nobody knew the full story. Someone said fights, someone said wild parties. One guy swore Kalen nearly got arrested climbing onto a residence hall roof at 3 a.m. The details changed depending on who told it. The only thing everyone agreed on, nobody wanted to room with him. Which is exactly why housing stuck him with me. I'm Theo. I color-coded my notes, showed up early to lectures, and had my schedule planned 3 weeks out. My room was quiet, organized, predictable. Then Kalen arrived. The door slammed open hard enough to hit the wall. Tall guy, dark hair, leather jacket despite the heat, 2 duffel bags. Behind him, a resident assistant who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Good luck, the Ross said, and left immediately. Kalen dropped his bags and looked around the calendar, the textbooks, the perfectly made bed, then at me. Wow, he said. I think this room just lowered my heart rate. What does that mean? It means I've never seen someone own that many highlighters. I already didn't like him. Judging by his smirk, the feeling was mutual. That night he blasted music while unpacking. I asked him to turn it down. He turned it up. Then his phone rang, a girl's name on the screen, and he answered with a grin. Hey, gorgeous. I listened to him flirt for an hour while trying to study. By midnight, I'd reached one clear conclusion. This was going to be a disaster. What I didn't know yet was that the real disruption wasn't Kalen. It was his best friend Reese, and the day Reese walked into our room, things stopped being simple. Reese showed up that Thursday with a pizza box, let himself in without knocking, and sat down on Kalen's bed like he lived there. Theo, not a question. Cool, you look exactly like he described. What did he describe? His grumpy roommate. When Kalen got back, his whole face lit up. They shoved each other like oversized kids, trading insults too fast to follow, then burst out laughing. Idiots, but there was something effortless about it, the kind of friendship people spend years trying to find. For the next few weeks, every visit from Reese turned the room into chaos: video games, arguments, food, noise. I told myself I hated it. The truth was more complicated, because I started noticing things. How Kalen performed for everyone else, loud and confident, but around Reese the act dropped. He just talked, normal, real. And I found myself watching those moments longer than I should have. I noticed other things too. How he pushed his hair back when frustrated. How his smile changed when he forgot to be sarcastic. How his voice softened talking about his little sister back home. I didn't want to notice any of it. Especially since Kalen was constantly surrounded by girls, a new one most weeks, sometimes brought back to the room, sometimes on FaceTime for hours. One night studying for an exam, Kalen walked in with a girl I didn't recognize. It was nearly 11. You've got to be kidding me, I said. This again? I have an exam tomorrow. You always have an exam tomorrow. Reese predictably sat back to enjoy the show. The girl looked uncomfortable, and then I said something I shouldn't have. Maybe if you spent half as much time studying as chasing girls, you wouldn't have gotten kicked out of 2 dorms. The room went dead silent. Kalen's face didn't go angry, it went hurt, worse than angry. He grabbed his jacket and left with the girl without a word. Reese just looked at me and said, that was low, before following him out. For 2 days, Kalen barely spoke to me. I told myself I didn't care. I was lying. Saturday night, Reese showed up, looked between us and sighed dramatically. You two are still doing this, apologize. He pointed at me. I refused. He turned to Kalen, also refused. This is painful, Reese groaned, and somehow by sheer annoying persistence got us talking again. That night after Reese left, Kalen spoke without looking at me. You don't know why I got kicked out. Then he told me the first dorm wasn't his fault. A roommate selling fake IDs blamed him and was believed. The second one partly his fault, some guy bullying a freshman and Kalen punched him. And then housing decided I was the problem. You could have told me. Never asked. Fair. The silence after that felt different, less sharp. For the first time we were actually talking instead of fighting. Then he ruined the moment. You still own too many highlighters. I groaned. He laughed. And despite myself, so did I. Things shifted slowly after that. The fights became routine instead of real. Alarms, music, laundry, temperature. And somewhere in there I caught myself looking forward to coming back to the room. That bothered me more than it should have, especially every time another girl showed up. One night a brunette on his bed again. 3 dates this week, I said. 4, she corrected, laughing. Kalen looked proud of himself. I hated how much that bothered me. Jealousy. I shoved the realization down immediately. Ridiculous. He was my roommate, nothing more, but it kept showing up. Everyone gravitated toward him, professors, strangers, the whole campus, while I buried myself in textbooks. One evening in the library, Reese sat across from me. Question, do you like him? My brain stalled. Where did that come from? You look at him weird. I'm studying. You're avoiding the question. I didn't answer. But once someone points something out, you can't stop seeing it. The party wasn't my idea. Reese dragged me out of my chair. We hate happiness, I told him. Same thing, he said. And 5 minutes later I was standing in a yard packed with people, music shaking the windows, someone dancing on a picnic table. Then I saw Kalen by the porch, completely in his element. Theo actually came. Kidnapped, I said. For an hour I stayed near the edges watching. Then somehow I started having fun, not because of the party, because of him. Every awkward silence he fixed. Every time I drifted off alone, he pulled me back in. I lost a stupid party game and he laughed so hard he nearly fell off his chair. I hated how much I liked that sound. Near midnight, a guy started staring at Kalen. Bumped him once, then again, harder, clearly on purpose. Kalen ignored it. The third time wasn't an accident, a shove. The yard went quiet. Got a problem, the guy said. Kalen's face went cold. Reese stepped between them. Not worth it, but the guy laughed, called him a babysitter, and Kalen's jaw locked tight, hands clenched. I suddenly understood this was the version of him that got kicked out of dorms, one bad second from disaster. Before I could think, I stepped forward. Enough! Louder than I meant it. Who are you? The guy sneered. Someone telling you to leave. He muttered something and walked off. The tension broke, music came back, but Kalen kept staring at me the rest of the night. Walking back to campus, Reese broke the silence first. You got rescued by Theo. Kalen groaned. Reese grinned, then deliberately sped ahead, leaving the two of us alone. Thanks, Kalen said quietly. It wasn't a big deal. It was. His voice was different, sincere. Our eyes met for a beat too long. Then Reese yelled, hurry up, lovers. From ahead, and the moment broke, but lying awake that night, I couldn't stop replaying it. For the first time, I wasn't sure this was just friendship. And somehow I had a feeling Kalen wasn't sure either. After the party, things got quietly strange. I noticed everything now: when he laughed, when he sat near me, especially when he texted. Practical messages turned into long ones, sometimes sent from across the same silent room because neither of us wanted to speak out loud. Ridiculous. And kind of nice. One night past midnight. Why are you still awake? Studying? Nerd. Idiot. Good night, Theo. That last one stuck with me far more than it should have. Midterms hit. Campus got tense. One afternoon in the library, Kalen appeared out of nowhere, dropped a coffee beside me, and sat down doing absolutely nothing. You don't even have work. You look stressed. No joke, no tease, he meant it. Something warm settled in my chest that I didn't know what to do with. A few nights later, Reese convinced us to go bowling, a group thing that became just the two of us after Reese mid-game suddenly remembered somewhere else he had to be. You planned this. I absolutely did not. He absolutely had. Alone, the night felt easy. No pressure, no performance, just talking. And somewhere in that hour I realized something terrifying. I liked being around him as more than a friend. Kalen dated girls constantly and had never once shown interest in a guy. So I buried it again. That lasted a week, until the rain. I found him standing outside a coffee shop, soaked, looking miserable. My car broke down, he said, and despite everything I laughed. He started laughing too. Lightning flashed. Neither of us moved. For a second the whole world narrowed down to the two of us standing in the downpour. Then he looked at me, really looked, and the smile faded from both our faces. The air went heavy. My heart was hammering, and from his expression so was his. Neither of us spoke. Neither looked away. Then his phone rang and the moment shattered. He looked away first. I stepped back, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. I hadn't. And the fact that he looked just as shaken meant this wasn't only happening to me. Neither of us mentioned the rain. Things didn't go back to normal. Every accidental touch felt loaded now. Every glance lingered. Even Reese noticed, walking in one afternoon and groaning, oh my god, this asterisk, what's asterisk this? Kalen asked, alarmed. Whatever this is, Reese said, and threw himself onto his bed. I feel like I'm watching the slowest movie ever made. We denied everything. He didn't believe a word. A few days after midterms ended, Kalen suggested dinner off campus, just the two of us. It didn't feel like roommates grabbing food. The conversation came too easily. The silences felt comfortable, and every time he smiled I caught myself staring. He noticed. I denied it. He didn't believe that either. Then came Madison. She showed up on a Friday, tall, confident, and Kalen's whole face lit up the way it always did. Something ugly twisted in my chest, sharper than before. I tried to study and failed completely, every laugh from his side of the room landing like sandpaper. When I finally slammed my book shut, he asked if I was okay. Fine. I wasn't. Not close. After they left, sitting alone in the silence, I couldn't avoid it anymore. This wasn't a crush, it was love. And it terrified me because he was my roommate, my friend, and as far as I knew still straight, so I started avoiding him. Library, anywhere but the room. He noticed fast. One night past midnight he was waiting up. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Why are you avoiding me? Not Theo. The way he said my name made lying impossible. He asked quietly, was it Madison? My head snapped up. He looked away, ran a hand through his hair, actually nervous, which I'd never seen from him. What does Madison have to do with anything? I asked carefully. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Neither of us knew exactly what we were saying anymore, only that we were close to something neither of us understood. I don't know what's happening lately, he admitted. Neither do I. The door burst open. Reese with pizza took one look at us and said, nope. I interrupted something, then vanished again. But after that night, neither of us could keep pretending. Finally broke on a quiet Tuesday, rain tapping the window, both of us failing to focus on anything. He sat up suddenly. Theo, just my name made my stomach tight. Can I ask you something? A long pause. Do you ever think about us? My heart stopped. He looked away, laughed awkwardly, said forget it, then looked back. No, I said, don't forget it. His jaw tight. The way things have been lately, the way I feel when you're around. My pulse was hammering. So I'm not imagining it? I asked. He shook his head. No, every moment suddenly made sense. The rain, the library, the jealousy, the stares. None of it had been one-sided. We just stood there a long moment. Then he laughed, quiet and stunned. I've never been this confused in my life. That broke the tension just enough to breathe. We talked for hours about the dorms, our families, every fear we'd never said out loud. He'd started noticing me months earlier, thought it was admiration, then friendship, then something he couldn't name. I'd gone through almost the same thing. Around 2 a.m. we ran out of words. He smiled, small, nervous, a smile I'd never seen on him before. Reese is going to be unbearable. Absolutely is. We were both laughing again, and it felt real, not dramatic, just true. The next day confirmed it. One look at us and Reese pointed dead at our faces. Finally, He'd apparently been waiting months and refused to stop smiling for an hour straight. Exhausting. But for the first time since I'd met Kalen, nothing felt uncertain. Only the future remained, and for once that didn't scare me because he'd be there too. Being honest changed nothing and everything. Kalen still left clothes everywhere, still blasted music, still stole my snacks. I was still obsessed with my schedule, still reminding him about deadlines he'd otherwise forget. From the outside, nothing looked different. But the wall between us was gone, no guessing, no pretending, and that changed everything that mattered. Finals hit. The campus turned into a stress factory. One night, buried in notes, Kalen walked in and set down food without a word. "I can get my own dinner. You haven't moved in 4 hours." He was right. Again, finals ended. Summer approached. Boxes appeared in every hallway, and the same thought hit us both at once. The semester was ending, which meant housing assignments would too. One evening I found him unusually quiet. What if they separate us? Honestly, I'd been wondering the same thing. The answer came 2 weeks later by email. I read it twice, then shouted his name. He checked his phone, eyes widening, looked at me, looked back at the screen, and started laughing. We got approved. The apartment request, something we'd submitted months earlier, half as a joke, never expecting it to go through. It had. That night Reese took us out to celebrate, which mostly meant 2 hours of reminding us he'd called it from the start. I literally watched this happen. "Please stop talking. I knew before either of you." Probably true. Unfortunately, the new apartment wasn't perfect. Bad dishwasher, worse couch, internet that died constantly. But it was ours. The first night, boxes still everywhere. Kalen lay on the floor staring at the ceiling. I sat beside him. "You know," he said eventually, "if they hadn't forced me into your dorm room." "Don't. I'm serious. You hated me." "I absolutely hated you. You were unbelievably annoying. You got kicked out of 2 dorms. Details." I rolled my eyes, then smiled because all of it felt distant now, like it had happened to 2 different people. He looked around the apartment, then back at me, something soft in his face. Funny how things work out. Looked around too, at the apartment, at the life neither of us had expected, then back at him. "Yeah," I said, "it really was, because the trouble guy nobody wanted to room with had become the person I couldn't imagine living without. I wouldn't have changed a single thing."